Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Monday Night Raw review. Monday Night Raw tonight was from the Climate Pledge Arena in Seattle, Washington, and the show just ended. And I gotta say, Monday Night Raw tonight, it was a watchable show. It was much better than last week's abomination of a show, which was the Raw after WrestleMania, which didn't feel like a Raw after WrestleMania. At least the show was watchable tonight, but still, it wasn't that good of a show, in my opinion. It was boring. But like I said, it was watchable just from the Monday Night Raw that we got last week. But tonight on Monday Night Raw, we had Finn Balor versus Rey Mysterio. We had the Women's Tag Team Championship on the line where Becky Lynch and Lita defend the titles, except Lita got taken down backstage, so TRISH STRATUS ended up replacing Lita. So TRISH STRATUS ended up teaming up with Becky Lynch, and they ended up taking on Liv Morgan and Smiley Raquel Rodriguez, with the titles still on the line. And then we had Bobby Lashley versus Bronson Reed, the Usos versus the Alpha Academy, Io Sky versus Piper Niven and Mia Yim in a women's triple threat match, and the main event. It was Solo Sikoa versus Kevin Owens. But overall, Monday Night Raw tonight, it was a watchable show, but still boring and not that good of a show. But like I said, it was watchable just from the Monday Night Raw that we got last week, which was absolutely fucking horrible. One of the worst Monday Night Raws after WrestleMania last week. But before going into Monday Night Raw tonight, there were reports of stuff that got canceled and scrapped for the show. Vince McMahon was not at Monday Night Raw tonight, just like how he wasn't at SmackDown on Friday. Yes, Vince McMahon wasn't at SmackDown on Friday. Triple H was running the show. Vince McMahon was at a Eagles concert in Jersey. So the SmackDown that we got on Friday was a Triple H book show. And you could tell, from how Triple H books a show and how Vince McMahon books a show. It's night and day. I mean, tonight, you could tell that it was a Triple H book show with a little bit of Vince McMahon's, stuff sprinkled in there. From what I heard, Vince was, on remote by, saying, this needs to be scrapped. We're not going to put this on the show tonight. But before Monday Night Raw went on the air, like I said, there was an article of two things that got scrapped and canceled. We were supposed to get The Miz versus Matt Riddle, which thank God we did not get that. That would have been a fucking awful, boring match. And we didn't get a Damian Priest segment. So WWE ended up canceling both of those. But we had matches that went long tonight. These matches weren't 2 or 3 minutes tops. So you could tell, if it's a Triple H book show, matches don't go 2 to 3 minutes tops. It actually goes longer. If it was Vince McMahon, we'd be getting 2 3-minute matches here and there throughout the show. But before I get into the review, if you guys haven't checked out my previous video that I uploaded on Saturday, did a movie review of the Super Mario Brothers movie. So if you haven't seen my review of that, go check it out. Loved the film. It's one of my favorite films of the year so far. It's a perfect movie, in my opinion. Did not spot any problems with it. But check out my review of the Super Mario Brothers movie. Would highly recommend the film. But anyways, let's jump right into the review. Monday Night Raw opened up tonight with WWE Hall of Famer Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio started off the show tonight, and Corey Graves mentioned on commentary that several superstars were late and have yet to arrive to the show because there were travel issues. With of course being Easter yesterday, and from what I heard, there was a little bit of bad weather in Seattle, so it makes sense for some of the superstars having travel issues to get to the show tonight. But Rey got into the ring. He welcomed everyone to the show. He ended up saying that it has been a crazy year for him. So the fans were chanting for him. They were chanting for Rey. Rey ended up saying that he had a lot of ups and downs. And he ended up saying last week should have been a dream come true when he got inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. And also, on top of that, to compete at WrestleMania. But instead of ending up facing his own son, Rey ended up telling Dom that he wanted things to be different. So then Rey got interrupted by his son Dominic. Dominic ended up coming out. Dom ended up telling Rey to keep his name out of his mouth, and that he is sick and tired of hearing about what Rey wants, and that he makes things about himself. So the fans were booing Dom, and Dom ended up telling Rey that he never cared about him, and he is better off with his real family, and his real family is the Judgment Day. So Rey ended up calling the Judgment Day selfish idiots who are just using Dom. Dom ended up telling Rey that, of course, Rey is using him. Dom ended up saying that he would have gotten the win at WrestleMania if it had not been for Bad Bunny, who screwed him over to help Rey win. So Dom ended up telling Rey that he is using Bad Bunny, just like he used him. So then we saw footage from WrestleMania when Bad Bunny got involved in the match against Rey and Dom. And then we also saw a clip from last week's Monday Night Raw where Austin Theory got the win against Rey. And then, the Judgment Day beat up on Rey. And it showed, Damian Priest, taking Bad Bunny, throwing him over the barricade and to ringside. And then, Bad Bunny ended up getting attacked and then getting slammed through the commentary table. So we saw all that. So then we had Dom end up saying that Bad Bunny makes a lot of good songs. But when Priest ended up putting him through the table, that was music to his ears. Dom ended up saying that he hopes Bad Bunny learned his lesson and doesn't stick his nose in the Judgment Day's business. So Rey ended up saying to Dom that he spoke to Bad Bunny last night, who told him he will be back. So Rey ended up telling Dom that he and the rest of the Judgment Day will regret putting their hands on Bad Bunny. So Dom ended up saying that it's more empty words from deadbeat dad. And instead of worrying about Bad Bunny, he should worry about what the Judgment Day will do to him. So Rey ended up telling Dom to cut the crap, and when is he going to man up and take care of things on his own? Rey ended up telling Dom that he doesn't believe him, but he didn't want to fight him at WrestleMania, and that he seems like a lost cause. So Rey then ended up telling Dom to step in the ring and have a WrestleMania rematch right in Seattle. So the fans end up cheering for that. So Dom, this is what's stupid here. Dom ended up telling Rey that he didn't want to fight his own father. And I'm like, didn't you want to fight Rey at WrestleMania? And you got the match? And now you're saying, "Oh, I don't want to fight my dad." What? So Dom ended up saying he knows who will fight his dad. And so out came Finn Balor. Finn Balor ended up coming down to the ring, and then Monday Night Raw went to commercial, and that's how the segment ended. But overall, I thought this was, just a very meh segment to open Monday Night Raw. Same shit, Ray comes out there, talks about Dom. Dom comes out, bitches about his dad, saying, "Oh, you were never there for me. You're a deadbeat dad." So, and then Dom ended up flubbing his words in this segment. I don't know if any of you caught that, but he did. And the thing that didn't make sense, like I said, when Dom ended up saying to Ray, "Oh, I don't want to fight my own father." But he basically asked for a match at WrestleMania. And Ray ended up accepting that. And we had the match at WrestleMania. Now he's saying, "Oh, I don't want to fight my dad." It's like, what? So then, as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, we had the first match of the night, which was Rey Mysterio versus Finn Balor. Dominic was at ringside. And this was a decent match here. This was an enjoyable match. We had Finn slamming Ray into the turnbuckle. Started hitting Ray with some right hands. Ray slid on the Finn. Ended up getting Finn in the corner. Ended up hitting him with some right hands. Ray then delivered a drop kick to Balor, which was followed up by a back elbow. Ray ended up doing a head scissors takedown, and he threw Balor into the ropes, but Balor ended up catching Ray, ended up slamming him onto the mat. So Balor went for the cover. Ray kicked out. Balor started stomping on Ray as Dom ended up celebrating at ringside. Balor ended up getting Ray back up and threw him to the ropes, and Balor delivered an elbow to Ray's face. Balor ended up going for the cover, but Ray ended up kicking out. Balor ended up locking in, of course, a chin lock on Ray. Of course, WWE loves their chin locks to slow down the match. This is nothing new here. We all know, about WWE using the chin lock to slow down matches. So Balor locked in the chin lock. Ray ended up getting out of the chin lock, and he ended up throwing Balor to the outside. So Ray then delivered a baseball slide to Balor. Then as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Ray delivered a bulldog in the middle of the ring to Balor. So both guys ended up getting to their feet. Ray was on the ring apron. He climbed up to the top rope, and Ray delivered a seated senton off the top rope to Balor, which was followed up by a crossbody off the second rope. So Ray ended up going for the cover, and Balor kicked out. Ray then tripped Balor up. He ended up going for the 619, but Balor ended up getting up and hit Ray with a clothesline. So Balor then delivered a drop kick to Ray, and then Balor climbed to the top rope. Ray got to his feet, and he delivered a right hand to Balor. Ray climbed to the top rope, and he hit Balor with some headbutts. Ray then delivered a hurricanrana off the top rope to Balor, and Ray ended up going for the cover. Balor kicked out. So Ray ended up getting Balor tripped up on the second rope. Ray then ended up hitting Balor with the 619. Ray climbed to the top rope. He ended up going for the frog splash, but Balor got his knees up. So Balor ended up going for the cover, and Ray kicked out. So later on, we had Balor end up distracting the ref, and Dom had a chain, and he got on the ring apron. It was the same chain that he was going to use on Ray at WrestleMania that was in Damian Priest's jacket. So Dominic was about to hit Ray with the chain, but Ray ended up knocking Dom down. Ray threw Balor to the outside of the ring. And then Rey delivered a suicide dive onto both Dom and Balor on the outside. So Rey threw Balor back into the ring. Rey was on the ring apron. Dom ended up getting on the ring apron, and Dom ended up hitting Rey with the steel chain. Balor then placed Rey back in the ring as he climbed to the top rope. Balor then delivered the coup de grace on Rey. Balor ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Finn Balor ended up winning the match. Overall, decent fun match this was between Rey and Balor. Of course, Dom, still getting involved here. And then we had a clip which was filmed earlier in the day where we had Lita. Lita was taken down backstage, and Lita was surrounded by Smiley Raquel Rodriguez, and Liv Morgan. So nobody knows what happened to Lita. So Becky Lynch, Trish Stratus, Adam Pearce, and Official end up running to help Lita, and pretty much that was basically that. So, but we all know who took down Lita, and in my head I'm like, yep, this is Trish Stratus. Trish Stratus ended up taking down Lita, and this is going to set up, the heel turn for Trish Stratus. Oh, but that I'll get to later on. So then we saw Byron Saxton. Byron Saxton was backstage with Becky Lynch, and Becky ended up saying that Lita is at a local medical facility. She ended up saying that she doesn't know who attacked Lita, but she will find out who it is. Becky ended up saying that someone came to her with a pretty good idea for her match tonight. And in came Trish Stratus and Adam Pearce. So Becky ended up saying that tag team match is happening right now. So Trish Stratus filling in for Lita. Trish Stratus teaming with Becky Lynch. So, and pretty much that was basically that. And then we had, of course, Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus versus Smiley Raquel Rodriguez, and Liv Morgan. Women's Tag Team Championship on the line. You had Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus ended up coming out. And then we had Smiley Raquel Rodriguez coming out there, smiling, like, yeah, that's Raquel as she came out. And then Liv Morgan came out. This was a hard match to sit through. This was boring and painful. So many botches in this match here. So Raquel and Becky started off the match. Raquel ended up lifting Becky up, threw her into the corner. Raquel then lifted Becky up, but Becky landed on her feet. Becky then delivered a right hand to Raquel, but Raquel ended up pushing Becky and slammed her into the corner. So we had Raquel end up tagging Liv in. So Liv and Raquel end up double teaming on Becky in the corner. Liv ended up going for the cover, and Becky kicked out. Liv delivered a knee to Becky's face. She then delivered a double stomp on Becky. She ended up going for the cover, but Becky ended up kicking out. Liv then ended up grabbing Becky, but Becky countered with a jawbreaker. So Trish ended up tagging in. Trish threw Liv into the corner. Becky ended up tagging in. Trish and Becky then double teamed on Liv. Becky climbed to the top rope, and she ended up doing a leg drop onto Liv. Becky ended up going for the cover, and Liv ended up kicking out. So then, as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Trish and Liv were in the ring, and both women ended up running at each other and slammed each other face first into the mat. So Raquel and Becky then tagged in. Raquel then delivered a fallaway slam on Becky, which was followed up by a corkscrew elbow off the second rope. Raquel ended up going for the cover, and Becky kicked out. Raquel then ended up lifting Becky up. Becky reversed it into a head scissor takedown on Raquel. So Becky was on the ring apron. She climbed to the top rope. Becky then delivered a drop kick on Raquel. Becky ended up going for the cover, but Raquel ended up kicking out. So Raquel was on the ring apron. She hanged Becky up on the top rope. Raquel climbed to the second rope, and she ended up getting Becky up on the second rope. Becky then delivered some headbutts to Raquel. Becky then tagged in Trish. Both Becky and Trish climbed to the second rope, and they ended up going for a suplex, but Raquel ended up pushing Becky off. Trish climbed to the second rope and landed a hurricanrana, and she ended up going for the cover. Raquel kicked out. So Becky ended up tagging in. Becky ended up getting Raquel on the ring apron as her and Trish ended up double teaming on Raquel. Becky ended up going for the cover, and Raquel ended up kicking out. So we had Becky ended up going for a right hand, but Raquel ended up hitting Becky with a backbreaker. Liv ended up tagging in. So we had Raquel and Liv end up double teaming on Becky. Liv ended up hitting Becky with a DDT. Liv ended up going for the cover, but Becky ended up kicking out. So you had Liv end up grabbing Becky. Becky ended up slamming Liv face first into the second turnbuckle. Trish then tagged in. Liv was placed on the top rope. Becky was tagged back in. They ended up going for a double suplex, but Raquel ended up getting in the ring. She powerbombed Trish and Becky as Liv ended up falling off of the top rope. So it was, a Tower of Doom spot there. All three women were down. So Raquel ended up getting back to the ring apron. Becky got to her feet and knocked Raquel down as Liv ended up going for the cover, and Becky kicked out. Becky then delivered a clothesline to Liv. She climbed up the second rope, and in came Raquel. Trish got into the ring. Raquel ended up pushing Trish away. Raquel ended up slamming Becky onto Liv. Becky ended up going for the cover, but Liv ended up kicking out. Becky ended up going for the manhandle slam. Liv reversed that into a cover, and Becky kicked out. Becky locked in this armor on Liv, but Raquel ended up breaking that up. Trish got into the ring. She ended up hitting Raquel with the Stratusfaction. Liv then delivered a code breaker as she ended up going for the Oblivion on Becky, but Becky reversed the Oblivion into the manhandle slam, which was a nice counter. So Becky ended up going for the cover. Raquel ended up dragging Becky to the outside. Trish was then tagged in. Becky delivered a right hand onto Raquel on the outside. Trish ended up going for a kick, but Liv ended up ducking the kick by Trish. Liv ended up rolling Trish up, and there you go. Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan win the match, and they are your new women's tag team champions. So, post-match, Trish Stratus was in disbelief. In came Becky Lynch. Becky ended up helping Trish up. Becky then raised Trish's hand as they ended up talking in the ring. And right from here, I'm like, okay, here's where we get the heel turn. It's not going to be surprising. So Becky and Trish end up hugging. And as Becky was about to leave the ring, Trish ended up hitting Becky from behind. Trish delivered a chick kick onto Becky, knocking Becky down. And so there you go. Trish Stratus ended up turning heel. But what a terrible heel turn this was. Not shocking. We all knew it was coming. If WWE wanted to do the heel turn on Trish Stratus, they should have did it at WrestleMania. Even though we all didn't want to see Trish turn heel, but we got it tonight. There was no need to have a heel turn for Trish. Felt very rushed and not shocking. Awful. Not needed. And then we had Kathy Kelly. Kathy Kelly was backstage with Paul Heyman. Kathy Kelly was like, oh, that was a shocking thing from TRISH STRATUS. I'm like, no, Kathy Kelly, it wasn't shocking. Everybody knew it was coming. So she was interviewing Paul Heyman. Kathy Kelly ended up asking Paul Heyman about when he dodged Kayla Braxton's question on SmackDown about Brock Lesnar. So Paul Heyman ended up imitating Kathy Kelly, asking about Solo Sikoa's match against Kevin Owens, which was the main event of Monday Night Raw tonight. Paul Heyman ended up saying that Kevin Owens is not just a problem, but Kevin Owens has a problem. Paul Heyman ended up saying that Sami Zayn and Matt Riddle are not here tonight. So he ended up saying what happened was Sami Zayn and Matt Riddle were at an airport. So Paul Heyman ended up imitating Riddle and Sami Zayn, saying that they know Solo Sikoa is looking for them, and they decided not to be here tonight. Paul Heyman ended up saying that Kevin Owens is there tonight with no allies and even fewer friends, and on one leg. He ended up saying that it makes him a literal one-legged man, an ass-kicking fight. He ended up calling Solo Sikoa the problem solver. And he ended up saying that he is there, and the Usos are there. So Paul Heyman ended up asking what kind of people would take advantage of Kevin Owens tonight. They are those kind of people. So that was what Paul Heyman had to say. So we got, Kevin Owens versus Solo Sikoa in the main event. And as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Byron Saxton was backstage, and Trish Stratus was there. Byron Saxton ended up asking Trish about why she attacked Becky, but Trish ended up giving Byron Saxton the cold shoulder, and she ended up walking away. Pretty much that was that. And then we had Dakota Kai and Io Sky backstage. Out came Bayley from Adam Pearce's office. Bayley ended up saying that she tried to get Dakota Kai and Io Sky a match for the tag team titles. But all Adam Pearce wanted to do was talk about the draft. Yes, we are getting a WWE draft coming up. And I am not looking forward to that draft. Knowing that Vince McMahon is back in charge, he's going to fuck the draft all up. If Triple H was still in charge, I would be more excited for the draft. But no. Vince McMahon is back in charge, is in control of the creative. He's going to fuck the draft up. So Bayley ended up mentioning that Adam Pearce did say she would be involved in a triple threat match against Piper Niven and Mia Yim, with the winner again a chance to go against Bianca Belair. So Io Sky started speaking Japanese. Dakota ended up saying that if she understood correctly, this should be about her and Io Sky, and not about Bayley. So Bayley ended up saying that she will talk to Adam Pearce and see if one of them can take her spot in the match. So pretty much that was basically that, but there's talk about Damage Control being breaking up and Bayley going babyface. So we'll see if that happens, when it does. But there is talk about WWE splitting up Damage Control. And then we had Bobby Lashley versus Bronson Reed. And this was a good match here. This felt like a NXT type match, that you would see in the old NXT, black and gold. You tell that Triple H ended up booking this match here. So the match got underway. Bobby Lashley delivered a back elbow to Bronson Reed and some right hands. Reed ended up delivering a headbutt and some right hands to Lashley. Reed ended up slamming Lashley into the turnbuckle, but Lashley ended up coming back, ended up hitting Reed with a clothesline. Lashley ended up going for a suplex, and Reed ended up blocking it. Lashley ended up going for another suplex, but Reed ended up reversing that as he lifted Lashley up and slammed him onto the top rope. Lashley was on the ring apron, and both Lashley and Reed were delivering some right hands to each other. Reed knocked Lashley off the ring apron, and he ended up falling to the outside. Reed was on the ring apron, and he delivered a nice shoulder tackle onto Lashley on the outside. And then Monday Night Raw went to commercial. Then when Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Lashley was in control of the match. He was delivering some right hands in the corner to Reed, and then a swinging neck breaker. Lashley ended up doing a suplex to Reed, and the crowd were on their feet. Lashley ended up going for the hurt lock, but he couldn't lock his fingers, and Lashley ended up finally locking his fingers for the hurt lock on Bronson Reed, but Reed ended up falling backwards onto Lashley. He ended up going for the cover, and Lashley ended up kicking out. Reed climbed to the top rope, but Lashley got on his feet. Reed delivered a splash onto Lashley. Reed then lifted Lashley up, but Lashley ended up landing on his feet. Lashley ended up going for the spear, but Bronson Reed delivered a knee to Lashley. Reed ran the ropes, but Lashley ended up lifting Reed up and slammed him. Lashley ended up getting Reed in the hurt lock, but Reed got to the ropes, and both guys ended up falling to the outside. Lashley delivered a forearm, which knocked Bronson Reed down. Lashley then lifted Reed up, but Reed ended up pushing Lashley into the ring post. And as all this was happening on the outside, the ref was in the ring, and as Reed ended up pushing Lashley into the ring post, the ref counted 10, so the match ended in a double countout. So both Lashley and Reed continued to fight on the outside of the ring, and we had officials end up run down to break it up between Lashley and Reed, and that was basically that. But having the match end in a double countout, it was the right outcome for both Reed and Bobby Lashley. Neither guy could have taken the loss. If Vince McMahon was booking this match, he would have Bronson Reed lose the match. But, you could tell that this was a Triple H book match. Triple H wouldn't have Bronson Reed lose. But like I said, if it was Vince McMahon, Bronson Reed would have lost clean to Bobby Lashley. But overall, it was a good match between Bronson Reed and Bobby Lashley, aside from the double count out, which obviously made sense. It was the right outcome. And then we had Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes ended up walking down to the ring, and he got a big pop from the crowd. He got into the ring, and he got on the mic. Cody ended up asking Seattle what they want to talk about. He ended up saying when he came back, he was talking about Seth Rollins. After that is Peck. And after that, the Royal Rumble. And after that was WrestleMania. And finishing the story. He ended up saying after last week, it feels a little cloudy. Cody ended up saying that at WrestleMania, under the brightest lights in the main event, he lost. He lost to the Tribal Chief, to the champion, Roman Reigns. Cody ended up saying they should all blame him and that he lost. Cody ended up saying that he did not calculate, not just for Roman Reigns, but to the lengths that Roman would go. So Cody ended up apologizing for losing. Cody ended up saying that he heard two things. One of them was from his friend Matt. He ended up saying being in the main event is a win in itself. I guess what Cody said, he heard two things. One of them was from his friend Matt. Maybe he could be talking about Matt Jackson, the Young Bucks. Who knows? So he ended up saying in this point in his career, do wins and losses matter? Cody ended up saying, of course it does, and that the only ones who say they don't are Hall of Famers, people who have finished their stories. He ended up saying that the other thing he heard was something Mr. Heyman said. So Cody ended up saying that if he is ever to challenge for the championship again, he has to earn it. Cody ended up saying that basically refutes and dismisses his entire life. Cody ended up saying earn it. He is it. So Cody ended up saying their unfinished tale has a whole new wrinkle to it, and that is Brock Lesnar. Cody ended up saying, what is more embarrassing than laying there surrounded by 80,000 people and a rubber chicken next to his head, and not the 2 titles, is waking up the next day and going to work. Cody ended up saying, looking for a rematch, and when not granted that, you offer up your innocence, and the beast repays it in destruction. Cody ended up telling them to tell him why. Cody ended up saying that he heard on SmackDown that Brock was unhappy about his place at WrestleMania, and that he can almost understand. Cody ended up saying that the other thing, his theory, is that Lesnar is uncertain about him. He ended up saying about the hype, the change he brought to WWE. Cody ended up saying, why else would Lesnar wait until his back was turned? He ended up saying, but if you're Brock and he knows he is listening, why would he ever be uncertain? So Cody ended up saying that when Lesnar looks in the mirror, he sees a predator, a former NCAA champion, a former UFC champion, a former WWE champion. He ended up saying that Lesnar is a Hall of Famer in both companies. Cody ended up saying when he was a rookie, he looked at The Rock and saw a victim. Cena, Randy Couture, The Undertaker, and saw a victim. So Cody ended up saying that he asked Lesnar if that is what he sees when he looks at him, a victim. So Cody ended up saying, to be honest, he is scared of Brock Lesnar, and that he would be crazy not to be scared of him. So Cody ended up saying that he still wants to fight Lesnar, and that he is so scared of Lesnar, and what happened last week, that when he blinks, he will strike. He ended up saying that he wants to make sure he leaves no opportunity behind. That when Lesnar looks in the mirror, he doesn't see a predator for the first time. He sees a prey, a victim, and that Lesnar is Cody's victim. So Cody ended up saying that it could be anywhere, anytime, any place. He ended up saying he knows Lesnar is not in Seattle. So Cody ends up challenging Lesnar to a match at WrestleMania Backlash. WrestleMania Backlash. It's just called Backlash. Yeah, Vince is back in creative because Cody ended up saying, oh, I challenge you, Lesnar, to a match at WrestleMania Backlash. So is it going to be renamed WrestleMania Backlash? Because Vince is now back in creative? So we had Cody end up throwing the mic away, and that was basically that. But this was a decent promo from Cody, but the explanation as to why Brock Lesnar attacked Cody last week on Monday Night Raw is stupid. You know, them saying, oh, the whole explanation as to why he attacked Cody is because Lesnar was unhappy with a spot on the WrestleMania card of his match with Omos. Are you kidding me? Are we supposed to believe that that's the explanation as to why he attacked Cody last week? If that is the case, what a stupid explanation. Terrible explanation. Oh, we're supposed to believe, oh, he attacked Cody because he was so unhappy. Lesnar was so unhappy with his spot on the WrestleMania card. Yeah, we're supposed to believe that. awful. Absolutely awful. Stupid explanation. And then we had the Usos versus the Alpha Academy, which this was decent here. So the match got underway. Jay and Otis started off the match. Otis then posed for the crowd, or Otis. So Jay ended up going for a German suplex to Otis, but Otis didn't move. He started to jiggle, and he ended up throwing Jay to the ropes. Jay ended up going for a sunset flip, but Otis started to walk, and he got to the ropes. Jay jumped onto Otis, but Otis ended up slamming Jay into the turnbuckle. Chad Gable ended up tagging in, so Otis and Chad Gable ended up double teaming on Jay. Gable ended up grabbing Jay. Jay ended up getting Gable in the corner. Jimmy ended up tagging in, and so the Usos double teamed on Chad Gable. We had Jimmy ended up delivering a chop to Chad Gable's chest. Gable then delivered a chop, but Jimmy delivered a chop which knocked Chad Gable down. Jimmy ended up placing Gable on the top rope, but Gable ended up getting Jimmy in an armbar. Gable was on the top rope, and he jumped onto Jimmy. Gable ended up going for the cover, and Jimmy kicked out. Gable then delivered some right hands onto Jimmy. Gable then delivered some forearms to Jimmy's face, and then Jay ended up tagging in. So the Usos ended up double teaming on Chad Gable. They super kicked Otis off the ring apron, and then Monday Night Raw went to commercial. And then when Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Chad Gable delivered an exploder on Jimmy. Otis and Jay ended up tagging in. Otis delivered a clothesline onto Jay and a spinning elbow onto Jimmy. Otis ended up wiping out the Usos. He ran the ropes and delivered a double knee onto the Usos. Otis then lifted Jay up, but Jay ended up landing on his feet, and Jimmy ended up tagging in. Otis slammed Jay and Jimmy onto the mat, and Otis ended up going for the cover. Jimmy kicked out. Otis then delivered a splash onto Jimmy in the corner. Otis ended up doing the caterpillar onto Jimmy, and Chad Gable ended up tagging in. Otis ended up getting Jimmy up on his shoulders. Chad Gable then delivered a bulldog to Jimmy off the top rope. So Gable ended up going for the cover, but Jay delivered a super kick, breaking up the pin. Jay ended up getting Otis to the outside of the ring. Jimmy then delivered a suicide dive, but Otis ended up catching him. Jimmy then delivered a suicide dive, and the Usos ended up super kicking Otis. Gable then delivered a moonsault off the top rope onto the Usos, which was great. Chad Gable does a awesome moonsault. Chad Gable then threw Jimmy back into the ring. Chad Gable climbed up to the top rope. He hit Jimmy with a diving headbutt, and he ended up going for the cover, but Jimmy ended up kicking out. Chad Gable ended up going for the ankle lock onto Jimmy, but Jimmy ended up getting out of it. Jay then tagged in. Gable ended up going for the rolling German suplex, but the Usos ended up hitting Gable with a double super kick, and then they delivered the 1D on Chad Gable. Jay ended up going for the cover, and there you go. The Usos ended up winning the match. Overall, this was a decent match between the Usos and the Alpha Academy, but we've seen these guys go at it so many times before, but decent match. And Otis, earlier in the night, Maxine Dupree ended up coming over to him, just loving the looks of Otis, Maxine Dupree. So, but don't care for it. Don't care for Maxine Dupree and her love for Otis, or as she calls him, Otis. Awful. And as Monday Night Raw came back from commercial, we got a triple threat match. Io Sky versus Piper Niven versus Mia Yim. The winner will get to face Bianca Belair. And the match was just meh, in my opinion. It was boring. So the match got underway. Piper Niven ended up throwing Io Sky to the outside. Piper Niven ended up lifting Mia Yim up. Io Sky delivered a drop kick off the top rope. Mia Yim then delivered a chop to Io Sky's chest. Mia Yim then delivered a suicide dive onto Piper Niven on the outside. And Io Sky delivered a moonsault off the second rope onto both Piper Niven and Mia Yim. Nice looking moonsault from Io Sky. And then as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, we had Io Sky, Piper Niven, and also Mia Yim. They were in the ring. All three women were in the ring. Piper Niven ended up slamming Io onto Mia Yim in the ring. Piper Niven then delivered a double splash onto both Io Sky and Mia Yim. So Piper Niven ended up going for the cover on both women, and they both ended up kicking out. Piper Niven ended up grabbing both Io and Mia Yim, and they ended up double teaming on Piper Niven. Both Mia Yim and Io Sky. Mia Yim was on the second rope, and Io Sky then delivered a Hurricanrana onto Mia Yim. Piper Niven threw Io onto the ring apron, and Io then delivered a drop kick off the top rope to Piper Niven. So Io ended up going for the cover, but Mia Yim delivered a kick to Io's face to break up the pin. So Mia Yim delivered some kicks onto Io. Mia Yim then did a sunset flip onto Piper Niven, to which Piper Niven ended up kicking out. Mia Yim then slammed Piper Niven, and she ended up going for the cover, but Io Sky delivered a moonsault off the top rope onto Mia Yim. So Io ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Io Sky ended up winning the match. She gets a future shot against Bianca Belair for the title. Overall, boring match this was. And then we saw Byron Saxton. Byron Saxton was backstage with Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens ended up telling Byron Saxton that he isn't a wise person. He ended up saying to Byron that he is smart, but not wise. He ended up saying that he leads with his emotions, and he lets his emotions get the best out of him. Owens ended up saying that tonight, his heart tells him to beat up Sol Sikoa. He ended up saying that his knee is not 100%, and they all know that. Owens ended up saying that he cares about getting revenge tonight, and that it's not the wisest decision, but he is Kevin Owens. And he turns around. Byron Saxton ended up reading the shirt, and on the back of Kevin Owens' shirt, it said, "Just keep fighting." So pretty much that was basically that. And then as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, it was announced that Brock Lesnar will be on Monday Night Raw next week. So the Beast Incarnate will be on the show next week. Main event, Kevin Owens versus Sol Sikoa. Sol Sikoa was accompanied by the Usos, and this was a good match here. The match got underway, and pretty much Sikoa was going after Kevin Owens' injured knee. So Sikoa ended up stomping on Owens' knee, and he ended up headbutting Owens. Sikoa then delivered a right hand and a back elbow to Owens' face. Sikoa ended up kicking Owens to the outside of the ring. Owens then delivered a kick onto Jay on the outside. Sikoa was on the outside, but Owens ended up throwing Sikoa into the ring steps. Owens then ended up throwing Sikoa back into the ring, and then he hit a senton on Sikoa. Owens ended up going for the cover, but Sikoa ended up kicking out. Owens ended up going for a suplex, but Sikoa ended up reversing that. Sikoa ended up kicking Owens' knee, and Sikoa then delivered a splash in the corner to Owens. So then as Monday Night Raw came back from the commercial, Sikoa was in control of the match still. Sikoa then delivered a kick to Owens' face. Sikoa ended up going for the Samoan drop, but Owens ended up delivering some elbows, and he had pinned Sikoa with a DDT. Owens and Sikoa started delivering some right hands to each other. Owens then delivered a kick to Sikoa's face, and Owens ended up going for the cannonball, but his leg ended up giving out. So Sikoa then delivered a super kick to Owens. He ended up going for the cover, and Owens kicked out. Sikoa then ended up placing Owens on the top rope, and Sikoa was on the second rope. Owens then delivered an elbow to Sikoa's face, and Sikoa ended up falling down to the mat. Owens then delivered a frog splash, and he ended up going for the cover, but Sikoa kicked out. Owens was ready to go for the stunner, but Sikoa ended up pushing Owens away, and Sikoa ended up hitting Owens with the Samoan drop. Sikoa then ended up climbing to the top rope. Owens ended up getting to his feet, and he ended up hitting the ropes as Sikoa ended up tripping up. Owens then delivered a kick to Sikoa's face as Sikoa was still on the top rope. Owens climbed up to the second rope, but Sikoa then headbutted Owens down. Owens got up and threw Sikoa off the top rope. Owens then climbed to the top rope, and Jay distracted the referee on the other side. Owens then ended up knocking Jimmy off the ring apron. So Owens was on the outside. He ended up hitting Jimmy with a super kick. Owens then went up to the top rope, and he ended up hitting Sikoa with a swanton. And Owens ended up going for the cover, and Sikoa ended up kicking out. Owens then delivered a pop-up powerbomb to Sikoa. Sikoa got up, and Owens ended up going for the stunner, but Jimmy distracted the ref, and Jay ended up hitting Owens with a super kick. Sikoa then delivered the Samoan spike to Owens, and so Sikoa ended up going for the cover, and there you go. So Sikoa ended up winning the match. Post-match, the Usos and Sol Sikoa ended up stomping away on Kevin Owens, and they cut it to the back, and we saw Matt Riddle and Sami Zayn. They ran into the arena to help Kevin Owens. Sami Zayn's music ended up hitting. Both Sami Zayn and Matt Riddle ended up running down to the ring, and they ended up attacking the Usos on the outside. They got into the ring. They double teamed on Sol Sikoa. Sami Zayn and Riddle ended up hitting Sol Sikoa with a double clothesline, throwing Sikoa to the outside of the ring. Jay got into the ring, and Sami Zayn delivered an exploder to Jay. Jimmy got into the ring. Kevin Owens ended up hitting Jimmy with a stunner. So Sami Zayn ended up going for the hula kick on Jay, and Sikoa ended up dragging Jay to the outside. And that was pretty much how Monday Night Raw went off the air. Overall, this was a good match between Sol Sikoa and Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, they're not finished with the bloodline with Sol Sikoa and the Usos. This is going to continue. But overall, Monday Night Raw, still not that good of a show. It was boring, but it was a watchable show if you compare it to last week's abomination of a show. But anyways, that's it for the Monday Night Raw review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys Wednesday for AEW Dynamite. So, see you then.